S.T.A.L.K.E.R Shadow of Chernobyl is a first-person survival horror game with elements of first-person shooters. I think it would be incorrect if you were to call it a shooter above all else. The game was released for PC in March of 2007, and it takes place in an area called The Zone, which is based on the real-life Chernobyl exclusion zone, and also it takes notes from the novella Roadside Picnic, written by Boris and Arkady Strugatsky, as well as Andrei Tarkovsky's film, which is also named Stalker. The term stalker comes from the name given to scientists and engineers who would explore the hastily built Chernobyl sarcophagus, which was constructed in 1986. Stalker went on to get two later games, Clear Sky, a prequel, and Call of Pripyat, a sequel. There have been a few fan-made restoration projects aimed at recovering lost concepts and cut content from the original game, like Stalker Oblivion Lost. And Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, is set to release on the 28th of April, 2022. It's safe to say that the series is pretty well loved by its fans. But generally, I'm someone who goes to Fallout when I want to play a post-nuclear apocalypse game, you know? I've had all three of these games in my Steam list for the longest time, but I've only ever dipped my toe into Shadow of Chernobyl. Today that changes. Today, we'll dive a little deeper into Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl. What did I think of it? Stalker is definitely a survival horror game more than anything, but not survival along the lines of like The Forest where you have to build a shelter. There are things to manage like health, stamina, radiation, inventory weight, but that's about it. Stalker is about as much of a survival game as Fallout New Vegas would be on hardcore difficulty. Compared to The Forest or Fallout New Vegas, Stalker's story is definitely set up in about the same way as them. You're given an intro cutscene in which something goes wrong, you survive somehow, and you start the game with one major objective, and you have to complete several smaller goals along the way to reach the end of the story. In Stalker, your goal is to find and kill a man named S.T.A.L.K.E.R. You're also stricken with amnesia, so you don't remember anything about this guy. You're picked up and delivered to a man named Sidorovich, who dubs you the Marked One. He'll help you find information, leading you to S.T.A.L.K.E.R. in exchange for you doing some work for him. Stalker is not a Doom-styled game. The objective is not to jump in there and fuck shit up. You know, that's an amazing way to get yourself very quickly killed. This is a game where you really want to pick and choose your battles. If you can avoid killing anything or fighting, you probably should. And it's a really good idea to use stealth to your advantage. And on that note, when you look through the controls, it'll show you that you have not only a crouch button, but also a double crouch button. Double crouching is just way fucking better than regular crouching.
Know your fucking place, trash!
It lets you move as silently as possible, but you move very slowly. But it doesn't compromise your accuracy basically at all. Also, by default, your quick save and quick load buttons, respectively, are F6 and F7, in case you want to remap those. Whether or not you do, you're going to be making liberal use of them. Quick save often, since you don't know when the game might crash, or you might be suddenly faced with a new enemy that wrecks your shit in a second and a half. You may notice, when talking to people, they have a rank, ranging from rookie to expert. You also have a rank, which the more you play, the higher your rank goes, and all your rank really determines is how accurately you can aim. The higher the rank, the more accurate you are. As far as I remember, it doesn't make a world of difference, but it is noticeable. Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl starts pretty damn rough. Your bullets seem to miss all the damn time, like you're fucking playing XCOM or something. And even when you do hit anything, it takes several rounds to kill it, since your starting gun does jack and shit for damage and jack skip town. The graphics and art style are a little rough as well, but, it came out in 2007, so I can excuse that. And also the game doesn't play very smoothly. More so than just like stability-wise. The game did like to crash a lot on me early on. I switched to a beta version of the game through Steam, and that seemed to stop the various crashing and VSync issues. mostly. It crashed on me a few more times in a specific later area. I don't know, maybe it's something about looting bodies in this area that the game just didn't like, I guess. I don't know. You're given a few difficulty options, which really only affects the game in a couple different ways, like how much damage your bullets do, how much loot you get, as well as a few other factors which are usually specific to one game or another if this chart is accurate. Either way, the early game for S.T.A.L.K.E.R of Chernobyl sucks donkey cock. Everything kills you way too quick, and when you have to fight something, it takes just a ton of bullets to kill it. Even knowing that S.T.A.L.K.E.R isn't a Doom-style, Duke Nukem Rambo-ass fucking game, even playing carefully, trying to be stealthy, it is one of the worst and least welcoming beginnings to a video game I have ever played when combat is forced on you, I should say. Honestly, I hate the start of this game. There was another point later on, after I got to this underground area, where I just apparently hit such a brick fucking wall that I needed things to go a very specific way to progress, but if I just got a little bit unlucky, well, fuck me, I guess. This is what I mean by making liberal use of the quick save and quick load functions. Every so often, you're gonna get into situations like this. Hope you save often. I mean, I had new gear by this point, but so did the enemies, so I had to hope that my bullet spread was tighter than theirs, which sometimes it wasn't. I know this is a video game, and somewhat I have to suspend my disbelief, but if I'm blasting AK rounds into a man's chest from probably 2 meters away, he should die very quickly. The odds of him being able to accurately blast me with his shotgun in that scenario while I'm hitting him should be next to zero. I'll say it once more. This game has one of the worst beginnings I've ever had to suffer through. I almost gave up on the game more than once.
Don't say anything, Squidward. Remember your karma. What? Oh.
Although that unwelcoming beginning does play very well into the atmosphere that S.T.A.L.K.E.R just fucking belts you with, In this reality, the area around the Chernobyl power plant, which was semi-repopulated a while after the initial radiation leak, suffered a second meltdown in 2006, which further irradiated the surrounding area. It mutated the land and every living thing around it. That leaves humanity with all these anomalies and mutants. Anomalies are basically just fucking glitches in reality. You touch one, bad shit happens. Anomalies come in a few different flavors, like lightning, gravity, fire. The game gives you an infinite amount of bolts to throw, which, I first thought that'd be like a stealth type distraction tool, which, come to think about it, I never really tested it for that. But the bolts are meant for triggering anomalies from a distance, so maybe you could get someone else with it, or you could gauge how big their blast radius is. As you might expect, radiation is also a concern. With the further north you go, that is, the further into the center of the zone you go, the bigger of a concern it becomes. To put it one way, the further into the center of the zone you go, the more you're going to be jabbing yourself with anti-radiation drugs. You're going to need that shit like choking lungs need air. But what is a dangerous adventure without enemies to fight? Along the way, you'll fight things like wild dogs, bandits, the military, and just mutated beings ravaged by the radiation. Wild dogs and such, they tend to behave kind of realistically. They travel in packs. They will run away if you hurt them, unless they're particularly ballsy. The mutants, shit, man, they're kind of creative, and I'll just let some of the footage speak for itself. Almost every guy with a gun will be able to kill you very, very quickly if you're just, eating shots. But the thing is, not only are you squishy, the enemies are also squishy, to a degree. Later enemies will have almost bullshit levels of health and armor if you have a gun that's just in the wrong caliber for this point of the game. Like, the further and further you get into the game, some calibers and some guns are just obsolete. Until I encountered these enemies with guns chambered in 9x39mm and exoskeletons, or some of the toughest armor in the game. At that point, the problems that plague the early game just kinda come back, But in all seriousness, if you can get your hands on a military exoskeleton and a 9x39 gun with a bunch of ammo, get yourself a good backup piece and a good amount of healing items, you're set. But the majority of the game is about you slowly getting better and better, doing missions, getting paid, upgrading to better gear, that sort of thing. Once you're at the top, uppermost echelon, it's a great sense of accomplishment. You're by no means invincible, even at the top level, but you stand much more of a chance when it comes to winning a fight. Another design choice I appreciate is the inventory weight management. If there is any constant in these types of games, S.T.A.L.K.E.R, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, it is that I am a capital LG loot goblin. I found myself constantly, might I add, being conflicted about, what should I drop to make room for the shiny new gun? On the one hand, my current gun does pretty good damage and I have plenty of ammo for it. But this new gun does more damage and is pretty much better overall, and it looks cool. But I'm already packing a pistol, a rifle, ammo for both, grenades, health items, anti-radiation shit, stuff that I'm never not going to need. I'm already above weight as it is, but if I pick up this new gun, I'm going to be completely overweight, which means I can't even move. The starting weight value for your character is 50 kilograms. Going above 50 makes sprinting and jumping take a ton more stamina than it would. Going over 60, even just by 0.1 kilograms, means you can't even move until you drop the excess weight. A single kilogram is about 2.2 pounds, so 60 kilograms would roughly translate to 132.3 pounds or so. I suppose, even the most physically fit person on Earth would have trouble carrying all of that and moving normally for an extended period of time. I find myself doubling back to the bar, more specifically a vendor, so I could sell some stuff I picked up. I could buy more ammo and supplies. But that also just kind of feeds into the whole being overweight thing again, which starts the cycle over again. And I mean, this is totally just a me thing, I know. This isn't really a game where you're gonna have 2 or 3, pistols and 2 or 3 rifles and have a ton of ammo for each of them. For 99% of the game, I had to deal with this weight limit of 60 kilograms, and the whole time, I'm wondering, when am I gonna get something that lets me carry more? Turns out, doing enough jobs for Sidorovich gets you a suit of armor that increases your carry weight. By the time I found that out, that is, I bothered to finally look it up, I was at the very end of the game, so if nothing else, S.T.A.L.K.E.R provides a good deal of side content to explore, though most of it is just go here, get this, bring it back within this time limit. I found an exoskeleton and a bunch of other supplies in the final area of the game. That exoskeleton increases your carry weight to 70 kilograms, which helps immensely. On top of just providing better protection, that's just, it has grounds for being the best armor in the game as far as I'm concerned. And that was such a very, very welcome change, seeing as the enemies were carrying guns chambered in 9x39. I mean, that caliber has some amazing armor piercing to it, so long story short, there's a realistic sense of nuance and dread to gunfights, which I can appreciate, when it isn't plucking out my ball hairs one by one. So to summarize, S.T.A.L.K.E.R Shadow of Chernobyl provides a palpable sense of tension, complemented by a combat system that is real hard as nails at the start, and honestly, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but you get used to it. Sticking with it beyond the early game will provide you with a rewarding survival horror shooter experience. I stuck it out to see if I'd really enjoy it, which I gotta say, it could have been better. Overall, I liked what I saw, and I can only say this part so many different ways. The beginning is definitely the roughest patch. I honestly would not blame you if the beginning makes you drop the game entirely. I don't think I'm gonna play this one again for a good while, if ever, though I am curious enough to see how the later games improve on Shadow of Chernobyl. Hopefully, they won't be as much of a ball ache as this one could be. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Special thanks to Mavis Vermillion for the video request. If you'd like to support my channel, the best way would be to pledge to my Patreon, link in the description. Consider pledging for as little as $1 a month. Every little bit helps. Your generous donations are very, very much appreciated, but are by no means required. If you like the video, consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing and ringing the bell if you'd like to see more from me. Well, that's all from me for now. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you all next time.